I'll call this meeting to order. Start with any announcements. Okay, we'll move down to approval of the agenda. Motion, please. Councillor Cripps.
The move to approve the June 8th, 2026 regular meeting council agenda as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Mason, any questions or comments?
If I can, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the agenda, and that is just to a motion I'd like to add for recognition for the fire department, and then I would also like to make a motion to go in camera to discuss what we decided was
That one.
correspondence.
HR.
Or HR.
Personnel, yeah.
Okay, we'll add it to our, if that's okay with movement. Okay. Any questions or comments? And we'll just add it to the one at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Okay. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, motion for minutes. Councillor Johnson.
I vote to adopt the minutes from the May 2026 regular meeting of council.
Seconded. Councillor Cripps. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, we're at award time again. I'd like to welcome all of you up here and just have a few comments. We'll grab some pictures. The City of Warman is excited to present our 2025 Volunteer Appreciation Award, the Group of the Year. This is awarded yearly to a club with 3 or more members whose efforts have significantly contributed to Warman's quality of life through recreation, sport, culture, environmental leadership, or community and social services. The major focus of this year's award involved volunteer efforts made during the 2025 calendar year. On behalf of the City of Warman and Warman City Council, I'm excited to announce that the recipient of this Group of the Year award is the SJHL Warman Wolverines. To the community of Warman, Wolverines quickly became more than just the new SJHL hockey team and playing in our city. The organization made a real effort to connect with the community and give back through hands-on volunteer work and community involvement. Players and team members volunteered at several City of Warman and community events, including helping out with the Kids Sport drive-through, breakfast, and supporting Team Hortons Smile Cookie campaign. They've also been very visible in the community doing school visits, meeting students, and encouraging young people to get involved in sports. The Wolverines also have done a great job of connecting with local minor hockey by inviting teams to attend games, creating memorable experiences for young hockey players, and generally helping build excitement around the game of hockey. In their first year in Warman, the Warman Wolverines have shown a strong community spirit, willingness to volunteer, and genuine desire to be part of the community. Their efforts have made a meaningful contribution to Warman's quality of life. Warman City Council would like to take this opportunity to thank the Warman Wolverines for everything you have done for our community in such a short period of time. And we congratulate your organization, your players, and your team of volunteers on being serving recipients of the 2025 Group of the Year. Congratulations.
Yeah, so again, myself, Brett Pilkington, I'm the head coach and general manager of the team. Carter Bergen, he's from Hague, local player, and he was 18 last year. Trey Marcus, 18-year-old here from Warman. I think Cassandra Olson, who is our equipment manager and trainer, and right now our business office coordinator. So that's what you got here.
And I'd also just like to add on, thank you for the jersey for the Cy Warman Day. That it was a great sort of memento for it.
No worries at all.
Yes. Any questions or comments from council? We'll grab some pictures. Sure. Got you back there.
Yeah. Looking for the meetings that I have around the province, quite honestly, there's always a reference back to Wolverines or, certainly some sort of tie connection there. So, certainly this year, your name gets carried all across the province, and I certainly hear so congratulations on the job that you do and setting high standard.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just think that it's wonderful that you have some local players that are part of the team and are out there and active. I know my wife is the principal of middle school, talked so many times about you guys being at the school and being a part of the things they were doing. So I just, I echo Councilor Beck's comments that I hear about a lot about the team and everything that you guys are doing a lot, but it's a great thing for everybody. So it's wonderful, and that's and congratulations to you guys on the award.
Thank you. Councilor Johnson.
I think it's awesome. Congratulations. So I got some boys and girls out in Grady's No Process creation. You can come out and do some games with them, teach them some skills.
Councilor Sam.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. I'm sure you guys would agree. It's awesome to see the community, the rec center and the rink so busy, like with the Wolf Greens and all the other hockey teams around. It's just there's a pulse around the city that's just awesome to be a part of. I'm sure it's fun to play here too right now. I can't imagine. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. And thank you so much for welcoming the team in here and help getting behind us. It's huge for the players and staff and the whole organization. So I thank you.
Well, we look forward to next year too. So we're going to call you up here then, and we're going to present you with this. And please, come on up, Council. Oh yeah, I guess.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got the audio photos.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Face, look at me, smile.
Yeah, we'll move up. Come on up, everybody. You might as well come in too. Yeah, okay. Watch the cords. It's parts of the cords. No. Everyone in position. Thank you. Yes, thank you. You said.
Hey guys.
Yes. Yeah. Moving down to Director of Planning.
Thank you very much, members of council. Just wanted after discussion tonight, to to the vacant lot policy. I've included the vacant lot policy for council's information and just some track changes. Administration's recommendation is that we move from taxing the whole subdivision at 50% sellout to 100%. Recommended this based on a request from the developers and one of our strategic priorities in terms of holding and preparing enough lots for development and carrying a generous supply. If we look at kind of the environment we're in right now with the way development's going, this policy would probably never come into effect with the subdivisions we're currently doing just because we're developing them basically as we're building them. But it is a useful policy when things are a little slower and we still want to make sure that we've got that supply of lots on hand for when things do pick up. We mentioned in the report that costs are minimal to the city, and as development permits are issued, we will tax the lots will become taxable immediately. Therefore, as people start to live in the community, we are creating revenue to support what needs to be done. So the recommendation tonight is that council approve the amendments to policy P37-2018 of vacant lot policy as outlined in Appendix A.
Okay, motion please. Councilor C.
I move the council approve the amendments to policy P37-2018 of vacant lot policy as outlined.
Seconder, Councilor Cripps. Questions or comments? Councilor C.
Just one, the first thing that came to mind this for me was understanding some of the financial implications for the developers. That makes sense. By doing this though, are we potentially putting it so one developer can come in and for lack of a term, kind of buy it all up and keep it from everybody, and they really have no negative effects of doing that? I want to make sure that it doesn't make the market completely uncompetitive.
I don't think it has any impact on your larger sector plan or larger parcels that a developer would come in and purchase. When this comes in, the impact is after you subdivide it into 10 or more lots. And we have a developer who has a lot of land holdings around the community already that this policy won't impact. And we've also got other landholders who hold lots of land around the community where this policy won't impact directly. But it kind of creates, I guess, a fair playing field for all of them, just because again it allows the smaller developers to develop, up to 10 lots, not get taxed on them. Bigger developer, potentially they do up to 100 or whatever without getting taxed on, but it allows both to carry those lots for a time period that they may not otherwise be able to do it, especially if they're financing, the development, the infrastructure, and all that goes along with it.
And just further to that, then, and I missed it either. I apologize. I think I saw it. Is there any consideration though on a time frame that the lot must be developed within? Like, so people are just buying lots and sitting on 5 years, 6 years because they just don't want to do anything with it yet, and that could potentially happen to them.
No. Well, the developer has a requirement that permits be issued within 18 months of an agreement signed. So there's that. On top of that, the subdivision will become taxable within 5 years, no matter what. We haven't seen any except for kind of that slowdown in the last kind of 2 years ago and last 5 years ago kind of thing, where this would even kind of come to play.
Yeah. No, and overall, I understand we have a good development community, so to speak, but I'm just more worried about maybe some outside money coming in and just buying up a bunch of stuff. There's nothing to do with the utilities that they want to.
I don't think it creates any sort of benefit for people coming in to buy larger parcels to develop.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Stewart.
Just for some clarification, like when it comes to like prior to even a subdivision application and the land holdings that are out there, those are still taxed at like an undeveloped kind of rate, right?
Yes.
So this is just that transition from that to the individual titled lots that would be taxed as years of residential, 50-foot by 120-foot residential lot.
Correct. Yeah. So the big parcels that they hold in the city now are taxed variety of different ways with the city. You just only have to play when they subdivide that bigger parcel into 10 or more parcels.
Okay. And then when it comes to like the building permit component, that's the building, so that's a construction permit for residents on the lot.
Correct. Yes.
And when I first read this, I like it because it helps with the supply of lots, and that's what you're always looking at, because it's a lot of money to prepare all this, prepare this for the developers. So
it's repair, and the carry cost can become quite significant, especially when you look at a base tax on each lot. And if those lots sit for, an infinite kind of period, it can be quite costly. So this is just a bit of a carry, I guess, in terms of giving the developers a bit of reason to develop and hold lots rather than just develop what the market needs.
any other questions? Councillor Beck,
Yeah. So the portion of 3.2 that you have changed, added in, so the opening there blue, this year, wondering, is that needed at all? Could that not come up? Because once the subdivision is approved, so 100% of the subdivision, or is there something in the planning amendments that I?
No, you're probably right. It could probably go out. The only reason I maybe suggested it's in there is because we used to have 50, so people might be looking for that. And if it's not there, wonder what that percentage is now. If it was always 100 for me to see the policy, I would agree definitely that it probably doesn't need to be in there. And it could go either way with council, like it works either way, but I just felt like having it in there because we used to have it as 50 might demonstrate what the policy is now. It's better. Sorry, my words aren't
Yeah, my thought is that it could be just entirely eliminated, just for clarity, and then under there, it's just that one application of the building permit, which is construction case that one there, property.
You're absolutely correct. And if we have the on the building permit up to 5 years in there, that's
and there again, I wasn't sure if it's up to let's say subdivision, stuff in there that so to me that should be removed, and then whatever. So that is that's what I recommend. Also this year, so the 5-year clock, does that So if somebody was to apply in June, would that basically be that taxation year? Or would that then?
It starts when the bills are raised.
So, okay, so titles are raised, yeah, should that be? Or is that just automatically?
It's automatic because that's when our like tax abatement would kick in. So,
And then,
and then on our program, there's a way to that term for the number of years.
the other thing I was, and also like that very last line of 3.2, where we're talking about the maximum abatement, 5 years for any payments. So this year, so hypothetically, if they had 40 acre parcel, they were break that down in 3 or 4 phases or anything like whatever, then would, would the 5 year abatement be on all of that? That, or if they said, hey, we're just doing phase 1 first.
So the reason we refer to phases is because they will not develop multiple phases at one time in an area. So traditionally they're only developed say phase 5 right now. And then we want to 5, phase 6, phase 7.
Mhm.
So that 5 years comes in when the titles are raised on any of those phases. So if phase 1 is raised in 2020, it would be fully taxed in 2025 or when all the lots are sold. If the next phase is raised in 2022, then it would be fully taxed in 2027 when all the titles are raised.
And yeah, I suppose like, one of the reasons I was wanting, let's say like that 100% of the lots, let's say, grows on before being taxed. Like there again, if the build out is 80-90%, right? They're not getting it, then they start opening up, let's say phase 2, because that's what the anticipated market is or whatnot. Then you might not have 100%, let's say, sell out in that.
Definitely there could be a situation where they open phase 2, like how they did phase 1, for sure, that can happen. Yeah, you're still collecting the taxes though, and whoever's up.
Well, yeah, no, for sure, but it's just that like they're a big, you're right. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So, so certainly with this year, in the clarification on on phase, aspect of things, and then also this year, I guess because we're talking about 3-year supply of inventory, should we have the abatement on, let's say for 3 years, and then have them come back and apply for the last 2? Just
My mind, all that does is kind of create an extra level kind of bureaucracy, because really what would be our reasons for denying it at that point? If we're saying out of this subdivision, it's not.
Yeah, and honestly, I wasn't thinking actual denial, but when this year, then it's that check-in point, that they can have people, built in with relationship with the.
It's definitely comes with that kind of check and balance, something we did work into the process. I don't know if it's necessary, but it could be, that's on council to see.
Yeah, and there again, like my only reason for suggesting that is, that there again, like our intent, right? Like the selection criteria and that is for that 3-year supply.
Correct.
So there again, saying, hey, you know what, you'd have to be maybe 3
Oh,
years.
that's what you mean. To
Right.
make sure we have the supply at 3-year.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just that it's that checks and balance part, right? Because we are offsetting the cost, but there again, to not have conversation for a full 5 years, it'd be nice to.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. With the way things are moving right now, like so fluidly, it would be a continual like changing number. So that 3-year check-in would much, I guess, like the number.
And there again, that's assuming our purchase.
Right.
And nothing says that's things will do a 180.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
Whatever, and there again, I'm just looking at the relationship building, aspect and that tie-in. So that way there you're not automatically granting the full, let's say that full amount that you could, not it's 3 years, come back for, just apply, you have to update.
I understand what you're saying. I agree. I still don't know if it's 100% necessary. And 3 years goes really fast. So,
that's what I was gonna say, is you brought up a couple things about changes to what the recommendation is, and I guess we'll hear, we can either go with an amendment with some of that, or we can hear from council if is some will of the group to go down that direction or not. But I have Councillor Tooley and then Councillor Cripps.
Yeah, I went back just one step, because I know you mentioned it there, that once the development has occurred, so once there's a building permit issue, it's completed. and title transfers to an owner, that then becomes fully assessed and taxable, correct? It's not correct. Okay. So then what happens then back with the balance of sort of what was started with? So you got 50 lots that are getting this abatement or whatever, and it's on the holding, right? So you've got the holding value of the property, which is what the tax is currently set on. Then the subdivision is pulled, and you're getting that incremental increase when you subdivide it multiple lots. That's going to be tax paid for 5 years. But during that time frame, you're selling off different chunks of that, right? So the developers selling off those titles. So then does that percentage come off of the total, or how does that play out?
Well, we're abating all of the 50 lots, so as each lot's sold, like each lot's already individually assessed. We
Right.
still have the assessment in our back pocket.
Yeah.
It's just we're abating that assessment or that, I guess, taxation.
Right.
So as each lot's sold or development permits put on it, we just take that lot off the abatement.
Okay.
And it becomes taxable.
Okay.
And it's, if you're talking about percentage as a whole, we're right there, so if we were taxing it, it'll be taxed based on that.
Yeah.
This be totally reassessed anyways because of the house on it.
I get, but what I'm trying to get is how does that go back to like your starting point? Because your starting point, you've got a big chunk of land, right? Which is
We're not even looking at the big chunk of land.
Okay.
We're looking at it once it's subdivided into lots.
okay.
So right now, as a big chunk of land, you're just being taxed, you be taxed on it. Once you
Right.
come in subdivided, you have title to that subdivision, and that's what you pay.
Okay. But the big chunk of land is still being.
Well, the remainder of the chunk of land, yeah,
Yeah.
it's reassessed based on its new size and whatever configuration, and it's getting taxed.
But I'm still trying to get it. So you've got the big chunk of land, you got this chunk that's been subdivided. And then what's being taxed on that portion until everything's sold?
So if you-
So with this year, like all of the taxes and payments would be completely abated until that house goes into building phase. And then it's completed, then it would hit the tax roll. Yeah, that. So we're not collecting at time.
So say that house starts like in January, it's in July or whatever.
Yeah.
Sam would do like a reassessment on that house. There are certain situations, there's certain situations now where if it's too late in the year, they'll just
Yeah.
bill land taxes for that year.
I don't think I'm getting what I'm looking for.
And sorry, maybe I understood.
I think I know what you're asking. Once it's like, there are no taxes being collected for that period. The whole tax will just be
Okay.
paid.
Okay, so you got a 40 parcel chunk of land. Let's say you're taking 5 acres, sorry, 40 acres. You're taking 5 acres to do something. So that 5 acres comes off of that assessment period.
Correct.
So that goes to like 0
Yes.
for that time frame. Then you pull the titles for, 30 individual lots in there, or whatever that number is. And then those remain at 0 as far as collecting tax dollars until there becomes a point where there's a property lot developed, house developed, and then that title is transferred off to the owner, and then that becomes taxable.
Right. Basically, we communicate with tax department in terms of what. Sorry, I don't know.
No, I understand it now, and like I said, it's still.
The residence is still being taxed. Like after the subdivision.
No, and that's like the leftover piece
Yeah.
that hasn't been broken off to subdivide.
Yeah.
So like the 35 acres.
That's still being
in
taxed.
my
The
example.
whole time. There's never
Yeah.
been-
Yeah, and that's just being taxed like the whole thing or whatever the.
But as soon as you get titles to those individual, say 30 lots or whatever, those aren't being taxed. Those are being
Right.
until the 5 years, the permanent over
Right.
or 50% right now.
Okay.
And again, there is a change. It's going from 50 to 100. So, Councilor Chris.
Yeah, and so, so it's not cheap, it's just, like now it's 50% of those subdivisions, and it switches to 100.
Yeah, and I get that too, but there's just overall concept or piece there that I'm disconnected with a little bit.
And then, so just to go back to what Councilor Beck was talking about, if you have your phase and you're worried about they didn't finish phase 1 and then they start phase 2, just to look at that from the other side, if you finish 50% of phase 1, and you start phase 2, that's perfect, because now you just triggered the 5-year start of phase 2 later than you need to, right? So they're not gonna jump ahead because they don't want to trigger phase 2 earlier than they have to. So if they're only done 50% of phase 1, They want to finish that to get all the money. If they start phase 2 before when phase 1's only at 50%, now you triggered the 5-year on phase 2, 1 and 2 as well. So that we don't have to wait as long for that 5-year wait on phase 2. So they're not going to skip ahead. They're going to trigger. It's going to trigger those 5-year triggers sooner.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion on the table. Okay, I'll call the question and all those in favor.
So just,
So yes, it's as it is.
as it is.
As it is. We have no amendment. Somebody want to make an amendment? That's why I'm offering you to.
Okay, so I'd like to make an amendment
Okay,
to,
we're gonna have to take it out. Okay, so just pause here till we.
to, so, section 3.2. Remove the revision, once the subdivision has permits on 100% of the lots, the subdivision tax.
I'm not sure about urgency. A motion if it's just
Yeah, I would just say.
Is it still the same?
Remove 3.2.
Yes, it's just that,
I think we have to show record that we're taking that out though, when this went out to the public.
From the second paragraph.
Remove the reference to.
and I was gonna exactly, however you want. to
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna write up the amendment first.
When they're from the floor, you have to, yeah, they took a while too.
Or do any changes?
As long as we're fine with that line coming out.
Before I talk about it, seconders to that. Councillor C, okay, discussion, any discussion? So this is just on the amendment. To keep this in or take it out. Councillor C.
Probably comment is, I'm indifferent either way. So, I mean, if it's something that, you know, Council Jack feels is important to be there, then I support that. Because I don't see, you know, a tremendous benefit or negative of it being there or not being there. So if it makes, Council Jack working on it, then I support.
Other questions or comments? Any comments from admin? I think you were indifferent also, administration on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So but I look
No,
for
yes,
comments.
yes,
Because if you wanted it in there, I think you can, you know, from the vantage point, you put
if
it.
it's something the council feels needs to come out, I just have an impact on the policy.
Okay, I think that's what we need to hear. So, just on the amendment.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I think when it comes down to it, I'm actually gonna keep my hand down for voting for this one. Or I'm not gonna be voting against it, just because I think there needs to be a broader discussion around the abatement components. Because there's an element of that I'm not comfortable with. So when it comes to that, that's something we can do at a later time.
Other questions on the amendment? Now I'll call the question then for the amendment to remove that. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. So now the motion as amended. Other questions? Any more comments about that? Councilor.
Yeah. Could I just ask, would there be any benefit to 3-year versus 5?
If the intent is that we're gonna give the 5-year in most cases anyways. No, I don't really see it.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Like I'm just questioning, you know, to the recommendation.
Yeah. To me, if we really had some hard criteria that 3 years we've reviewed, then I would say yes. But if in most cases we're gonna give it anyways, I would say it's probably And if there's a, that's not needed.
Fair enough. Other questions or comments? So I'll call the question, motion as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, motion to file administration reports. Councillor Dewey,
Move to file administration reports as presented.
second. Councillor C, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, my report, I'm just gonna mention a couple more things. P4G, or sorry, I jumped to P4G. I'll start with FCM, too many acronyms here. FCM, it was good, great. They set a high standard for, they were long days though, 7 a.m. till 10 at night, almost every day, and with a lot of networking, a lot of great things. I'm just going to mention a couple highlights that really stood out for me. The AI one was one of those ones that a few ideas that are already happening out there. Like one was tying calls to the city, tied to the weather network, and tied to the snow removal plan to be able to give an approximation of when your area will be cleared in front of your house is being done in some areas, saving about 80% of the calls to the front desk based on that. So, and I think it was just interesting hearing Edmonton in a lead with some of those things and just that using what's already there and some of those aspects. The other one, I mean, a little bit of a disappointment with political keynotes. We only had Abby Lewis and Elizabeth May as the leaders. The other ones said representatives. I mean, Minister Dominic LeBlanc, is very much in the news, so I think he was more recognizable. But the other ones it was not really the caliber that we're used to at FCM to have the Prime Minister there and have, definitely opposition people there too. So I want to just say that. The other one I do want to mention, if there's question about FCM, and that's just me putting a couple of those together quickly because I don't expect anything from people right now. We left this morning to get back. But tomorrow morning, Spencer Nickel from Martinsville and myself as the P4G chair and vice chair are going to the meeting for at Warman Park. We've asked to be a delegation to speak about them withdrawing from P4G. So we just want to make sure that that we're stating what are the things that are working, what are the things that we still want to see within P4G. And so it'll be an opportunity to say it's tomorrow at 8:30. So I think it's going to be online. It's the administration meeting. We're not even approved for sure that we will get to speak. We've asked to speak, and they make a motion on whether you get to or not. So I don't want to promise anything for sure, but tomorrow's the day they discuss it as a council, and I believe they have a recommendation to withdraw. Now, at what level, we'll get that information. So that was sent out by Tanya. That this is something that I know Spencer was going to be there, and he asked if I could be there as the vice chair too. So I want to give you a heads up on that, as it's an opportunity, I think, to get the message out there and just at least give the final comments before they debate and then make a decision, maybe, or hopefully, or maybe not. That's up to them. So I want to give people a heads up on that. But those are two sort of new ones that I didn't really have on my list, and they were not even on my radar going into the week. Any question about my report or any of this? Yes.
Just a question on that, with regards to the delegation of Senator Nichols going. Is that that's on his own initiative then? Because that wasn't discussed for all.
No, that was Tanya Tanya Garris was the one that reached out to say that they're sending a delegation. They're sending. And Spencer said that he would be going to speak on behalf of as the chair to say, here are the benefits of being part of P4G.
Okay, from me, I have a little bit of concern about that because I wasn't, and again, I'm not the voting person at P4G, you are, but that wasn't brought up with the P4G group. I discussed that you should go talk to Warman Park. So I feel that I don't feel it's appropriate that he's going to speak to them on behalf of P4G when P4G members didn't initiate that he should go talk to us. So I think that kind of defeats the point of having a voting group around there to say what's going to go on, because now we're going to come back and one person is deciding what the voice of P4G is. And he is the speaker of the state. So I actually have some concern with that.
Okay, fair enough. Other questions about it? Or any comments about my report?
So certainly regarding the last question, But there again, because it was kind of approved, body, but like if they were to, let's say, vote to leave, is that an approval from the province?
It'll only trigger the beginnings.
Yeah, and I suppose that kind of comes up here and now that it wasn't even discussed at your, you're wrong.
I should say their withdrawal was discussed, but there was no comments made by Corman Park at that time. Correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but my concern more is just with all sudden now delegation. Like we just had a rock meeting 2 weeks ago, and nothing was mentioned about delegation or talk about parks. So that was my only. Not that they're playing. That's been discussed as a group, but no ramification yet because it's right now. It's only a comment. It's not. Nothing has been initiated by their council.
Yeah, and I guess I was just kind of wondering, process just we haven't had any conversation.
No.
Well, and I think that's actually an interesting point that Councillor Seat brings up. It's just the part that I have a question mark about is where would be the appropriate venue to sort of have that discussion about what the representation in intending should or shouldn't be there, giving a message for. Like if it is the chair of that committee going to speak on behalf of the benefits of Rock. First of all, one of the parties that's part of that organization is Corman Park. So if that's being discussed, Corman Park should say hand up saying you should be here for this discussion because it's conflict or whatever that looks like, or maybe everybody is conflict, everybody in some way, say, I guess it's everybody's fault. So it's a little bit of I think it's a valid point. I'm just not sure the venue where it gets washed out or played out is, I think, the struggle or the question mark I would have on it.
I think administration, and I got an email, and administration reached out to say that they are planning to send somebody at this instead of just letting it happen. They wanted to make sure, as the chair, the spokesperson for that group in that way, the chair is going, and they're inviting me as the vice chair if I would like to attend also.
That's just my thought. This is nothing about Spencer or yourself. That's not, it's the process I'm questioning. My understanding, and just for those there, because some of the stuff is I guess nothing of it was in camera, not all public at this point, but the discussion was basically Corman Parks Council has asked about the options for withdrawing from the P4G partnership. They have not received, to my knowledge, at least as of the last Rock meeting, they had not received a report from their administration saying this is option 1, option 2, option 3 officially. They've discussed it a little bit just to say, this is, you're responsible for some legal costs, there's this potentially. And my understanding is, and please jump in if I'm wrong at any point, we're basically directing their administration to present a report to their council. I don't know what date that is, I'm assuming it's okay. So, and that's where then their council will hopefully vote to accept the delegation, and then they will determine, do they want to go with, and it's not that there's 3 options, but they'll go with, do you want to go with option 1, option 2, option 3, or defer it for more discussion or asking for more information. So that's kind of where it is right now, just for everybody around the table. But like I say, and I'm just, I respect Tanya, what she does. I'm just not sure where else the decision that somebody should go came from, because it wasn't the director of that Rock. That's all.
Fair enough. Yeah. Councillor Cripps, yeah.
But as someone who doesn't even sit around that table, that's, this might be the last opportunity to even speak on it. Like, they're going to vote tomorrow on if they pull, like if the option's there, they're going to vote to leave. So to have your chair and vice chair to say like, hey, whoa, we'd just like you guys to think about this and have an opportunity to have discussion as P4G, right? Like to your remarks, like, go see if you can get a meeting to at least discuss it after this meeting, because this might be the last opportunity. So if they're going to let them talk and say, hey, here's your options now, but please, can we have one more discussion as a group before you guys vote to leave? I'm all for that.
Just for clarification, the meeting that they're having tomorrow, is it a regular meeting of council for Corman Park, or is it more of a?
So the one that I'm going to is at 8:30. That it's the administrative part of the meeting, administrative between 8:30 and 9:30, and then 9:30 is the regular meeting of council. I believe it's the regular meeting.
Yeah. So the regular meeting of council is where they're going to be.
People can observe at that point. We would not be involved in that anyway.
Yeah, but that's where they're addressing this particular agenda.
That's what they had said during their last meeting that we had a report on, that this was being deferred to the 9th. Okay. 5, yes.
Sorry for the correction, but I do believe it's a planning committee. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this isn't their final
I
meeting.
don't believe it's the actual council.
Okay,
That's what the agenda says at the top of it. It's planning committee.
okay.
Sorry about that.
No, and I didn't have that information either, so.
I think it's just their meetings tomorrow or what's in their agenda. There's a committee administration meeting. There is a planning committee meeting. But I don't believe there's a regular meeting of council in the queue.
Any comments about my report? Okay. Okay, I guess it's just motion to file my report then.
We did get youth council,
Youth council one.
we sent an email on Friday.
Right. Okay.
So
Motion to council.
I'll move to the mayor's report and youth council representatives report be filed for that.
Seconder, Councilor Mason, any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. Councilor Brad.
I just want to say that, the woman, Warman, recognition days, went off spectacularly well. I had a lot of press on it and whatever, and, I did have the opportunity to join there for lunch, and, yeah, there was definitely a lot of admiration there. So it was, yeah, just really great to see. The lunch was fantastic. Well put together. Yes. Yeah, it was just great to kind of get together, recognize that, the whole round table, and feel like everybody's connections there to one. So that was great. And then there was certainly quite a few of the Warman book, that is, the history book maybe that that were able to make it. So there again, just a great appreciation for them and all the knowledge and that they brought to it. So just fantastic. Wanted to report that the original Shreda meeting later this week is canceled and whatnot. So yeah, so I think that's going to be rescheduled. I know June for my schedule is crazy, and so I can just imagine others there also. So tying into that is I will be likely away for the committee of the whole. We'll see about attending remotely, and also for the regular meeting of council that there I likely would be able to attend by remote. I'm basically attending all of the FEMA regional meetings and whatnot. So we have 8 of those throughout the province. And I've got, yeah, I'll be on the road for 10 days. That's keeping it as condensed as I could. So
We'll see if you can make it work. I know we've been able to use that technology fairly well and work through the city clerk on that.
and certainly like the committee of the whole, or permanently like the regular meeting of council, with that, and I should be set up in my hotel room. So let's say attending that should be no problem. The committee of the whole, there again in the afternoon, just depends on exactly what my duties are during that time. So
Right, 100%. Councilor Johnson.
So I had the quarterly fire meeting at the fire hall on Wednesday. So I was able to, on behalf of mayor and council, thank the firefighters for their duties and what they did for the fire here in town, and let them know that Councillor Seed was going to be joining them later. They had a lot of questions, for me. So it's like, did the best that I could in answering all of them. And then Councillor Seed had joined after just to do another congratulatory talk with them about just thanking them for their service and how they did such a good job in avoiding what could have been a really bad situation. I think I've got a library board meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. And yeah, that was it.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, STM just got back today, went down Wednesday night. It was great. Made lots of good connections. There was Wednesday night we went out for supper and the one restaurant downtown was just packed. This is crazy. And then Thursday night we went out for they had rural municipalities of Alberta put one on Manitoba, and it was just packed and booming. And then it was it just died. It was like, it would be interesting to go back during maybe the ice hockey season. I don't know. But like the ice district, that was an absolute ghost town the rest of the weekend, like Saturday, Sunday. So like not even open. Like the bars not even open. Parts of the bars that are open are closed. So like there is a lot of, they definitely have some homeless issues there, obviously the same as everywhere else, but to see all that revitalization that has just been completed, and I don't know why it was busy Wednesday night, you know, obviously SCM kept it rocking on Thursday night, but to see how dead it was there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing, it was, shows you, I don't know, I don't think they have it all quite figured out just yet, but glad we don't have those problems. But yeah, lots of good education, lots of good contacts. It was great conference.
We had a rec board meeting at council, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I reported on the last meeting already, our last meeting, and yes, so I thank Councilor Johnson because I did reach out to her about coming to the quarterly meeting, just to thank them. As you guys are well aware, myself and Councilor Johnson work closely with the events that day, and I think they're both just kind of like what it was all blown away by what we just saw, and by that I mean not just the event, but the fire department there, like they were just, to say they were stellar doesn't begin to describe it. So it was awesome to be able to just and thank them. And I said again, not speaking for council, but feeling that I can be speaking for council, just as a thank you for what they did. So that will be referenced to my own.
Just, it was great to have the opportunity to go to FCM. Again, lots of good connections, lots of good, socialization aspects. Great opportunity to spend a little bit more time with Councilor Chris and Mayor Belichick, along with, we spent a fair bit of time with Mayor of Yorkton, Mayor of Humboldt. Were a couple that we saw a fair bit of. So yeah, lots of good sessions. It almost seemed like it was almost overloaded with tour options or study tour options. There was lots of those that were also during some of the educational sessions and that kind of thing, which is kind of a nice. You have a choice, I guess, to do one or the other. You want to do an ice cream tour with scripted. Kind of sad I didn't go with them, but I also did rain on it. So maybe happy about that. Again, yeah, I couldn't what Mayor Belichick said. I was a little bit disappointed that, and I understand that there maybe was some issues with scheduling and that kind of thing. But to have sort of two of the bigger political leaders not be able to be in attendance, I think it was really good to hear some of the perspective on just some of the trade relationship right now with the states. Like I think that was definitely an interesting conversation to hear, and just sort of a little bit of optimism there, but also some of the challenges that they're facing with that component. So we'll see, I guess, how that file plays out the next little while. And beyond that, just going back, I guess it's been a couple of weeks since we were last here. I was in a Legends Golf Board meeting on the 26th of May.
I just have one question. I know that last FCM there was some mayors from the US. Was there any mayors that came up and talked about the relationships with?
No, there was none that I was aware of. Unless it was something that I maybe was. They were introduced or something like that, but I did not come across any.
Okay, we'll move on to divinity report. Motion, please. Councilor Beck.
I move that May 2026 divinity report be filed as presented.
Second. Councilor Mason. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. Motion for accounts. Councilor Julie.
Move to approve the city accounts as presented by check number 4494 to 4474 for the total amount of $375,742.20. And payroll vouchers number 222-176 to 22253 in the amount of $139,669.30 for June 8, 2026.
Seconder. Councilor Beck. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, motion going to camera. Motion.
Yeah, my motion you call it first.
Okay, sure.
So I'd like to make a motion that the city council of Warman direct administration to prepare and issue on behalf of mayor and council a formal letter of gratitude to the Martinsville Fire Department, Dalmany Fire and Rescue, and Oldsworth Fire Department in recognition of their response to the mutual aid call of May 29th, 2026, during which their personnel, the equipment assisted Warman Fire Rescue. I'll give this to you, Brittany, and combating an out of control structure fire resulting in loss of 200 residences. Further, the council signed said letters on behalf of the single one manager. Sense.
A second. Councillor Johnson, questions or comments? Councillor
I also made a comment behind it. So I did actually talk to Chief Austin at the his response was Warman is a class act community, and that's a class act thing for us to do. And essentially all it is the idea would be to give them a letter that's signed by all of us with some meaning behind it, just thanking them for their mutual aid. I did give a draft of that letter to Pro City Manager as well. And Chief Austin did read it, and it was just something so that, strengthening our just like their town office or whatever they want to do, just as a thank you. So that's the intent.
any questions, comments? Thank you for doing that. That's excellent. That's to me, I think those are things that we want to keep nurturing these relationships. And it worked. Mutual aid worked the way we needed it to work. And because when I first got that text, I was not a happy camper, and I was very nervous with knowing that the conditions that were outside. So it was amazing the work, because it went from straight up flames to out, and it just went, this is amazing. So I appreciate it. Councilor Drake, yeah.
Oh, no worries.
No, you might as well
I
build
was just saying, to get some context that with myself and Councillor Johnson, like we were standing across the street and I lost a hair on my neck because the flames turned sideways and almost touched the street. Like it was hot. And it was, I don't want to overstate this. It almost brought tears to my eyes standing there watching all those trucks roll in. Like and not because the houses were on fire, we knew people were out, but just to see like neighbors taking care of neighbors. And like, that's what it's all about. And there was no question, no hesitation. And they rolled everything they could spare, which was just like, I don't know, like you just, that's a moment I'll never forget my entire life. So it was amazing.
Yeah, just to kind of build on, recognizing our mutual aid partners. I mean, like there again, it's one thing to have the agreement in place, another thing to actually have that agreement get the service at the level that's been described. So I think that there's good. And then when you tie into the condition, very much to what you said, it was very windy that day, right? And I mean, yeah, you just seen the plumes of smoke kind of come out, and it was like there again, knowing that the embers could have been that much worse if it wasn't controlled that source the way that it was. And we had the example from Saskatoon, same day, right? I mean, where there was the garages and other structures that that were lost in Saskatoon. So I think while we might have the mutual aid agreement in place, going above and beyond recognition, I think is very much to what's been described and very classic. So, and I think doing that, thanking our partners for being there when we needed it most.
Other questions, comments? Yeah, Councilor.
I guess just in regards to kind of the mutual aid component of it, and I'm assuming there's an element of that Chief Austin's going to sort of coordinate with his counterparts and just kind of do a debrief of how everything worked. And if there's, any identification of future training opportunities, when you're coordinating something like that, you're bringing together, 4 or 5 different services, and just the coordination and how evenly all that flows together. I would imagine something like the way Saskatoon would do it, for example, where they have different fire halls. It's probably a similar type of concept in the sense of you're bringing them together to go to a common place.
Good talk for the community of the whole.
Yeah. It's an interesting component, just what the debrief is going to be. But,
I'll give you extremely brief on that front, and it's a great point. Warman Fire Rescue regularly, as in a couple times a year minimum, cross trains with the other departments. Anytime that we got a new dumper truck, the other departments will come to Warman and trade on that truck. So they are basically able to operate everybody's apparatuses independent of that community actually being there. So if we only had a volunteer department, only had 2 people here, chief and deputy chief, Martinsville in theory can come over and run our trucks. So that's it. So they do that, and then they do a hot wash, which they did Friday night, which Chief Austin actually alluded to, and that's saved out that their commands of each community, and will know for they know the good, the bad, the ugly, and that's they've already. So, yeah.
You know, just one of the comments and concerns too is just with talking to Chief Austin was the onlookers. You know, that I know both Councillor Seed and I were, it was tons of people and both of us were doing traffic control and trying to get people, but there was so many people to try and get in there. And I mean, both him and I were coughing up smoke for days. And it was trying to keep them out. And then, and that was one of the biggest concerns and biggest issues, one, safety wise, but two, then we've got some, I know it's scary and people respond differently in stressful situations, but, you know, to the point that it was, you know, police had to be involved to kind of make sure that some people kind of kept their cool and listen to the firefighters. So that's something too that we need to, because it was both sides of the like four corners, hey, people full. So we're
There's so many different automatic machines now. It's not even cars now. You get scooters that are motorized. So thank you to both of you. Thank you for, I mean, for being there. You're, you know, just how that worked out and you were able to help. Thank you. Because I mean, you know, in some ways it needed to be the police needed some support with that because we just don't have the numbers for events like that. So appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, with that, all those in favor? Carried. Motion on counter. Councilor.
Have it revised just to be able to speak to both.
Okay. So previously we had to do them separate.
Do I find it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it together with this.
Oh, okay. Oh, don't move it on me.
I'm not trying to. This computer does not like me today. If you can see the face.
Okay, so whereas section 94(2) of the city of United States, the council may close all or part of their meetings to public if the matter discussed within one of the exemptions of part 3 of the Local Authority Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And whereas section 94(4) of the Cities Act may meet in a meeting closed to the public for the purpose of long-range strategic planning. Therefore, be it resolved that council one chamber to discuss personal matters pursuant to 18(1)(b), section 18(1)(b) of the Local Authority Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, and strategic planning pursuant to section 94(4) of the Cities Act. And whereas section 94(4) of the Cities Act states the council may be closed to the public for the purpose of long-range strategic planning, therefore be resolved that council one chamber